Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Captain Christi Machado, your narrator for today's event. On behalf of the presiding officer, Major General Patrick Doherty, the commander, 19th Air Force, welcome to today's change of command. Today, the reins of responsibility and leadership for the 56th Fighter Wing will pass from Brigadier General Brooke Leonard to Brigadier General Todd Canterbury. The change of command ceremony is a time-honored military tradition, deeply rooted in history, dating back to the time of Frederick the Great of Prussia. In that period, military organizations developed flags bearing specialized colors and designs unique to each organization. When soldiers followed their leaders into combat, they kept sight of these flags. If a banner still waved after the conflict, it was a sign their side had claimed victory on the field of battle. Because of its symbolic importance, the flag was incorporated into ancient change of command ceremonies. The organizational banner was exchanged in public for all to witness the naming of the new leader. This symbolic modern ceremony continues to announce to all the authority of the incoming commander in the finest of military traditions. Today's formation is comprised of men and women from across the 56th Fighter Wing. These individuals characterize the exceptional teamwork and professionalism required to train the world's greatest fighter pilots. We would like to take this opportunity to welcome the many distinguished guests and honored visitors joining us today. Please hold your applause until all guests have been introduced. Accompanying Brigadier General Brooke Leonard is his wife Maria and his kids Cade, Kenley, Ty, Crew, Trek, and Cody. Accompanying Brigadier General Todd Canterbury is his wife Christi, his daughters Caitlin and Haley, his father Major General Retired Henry Canterbury, his mother Mrs. Lynn Canterbury, father-in-law Captain Retired Larry Cudd, mother-in-law Senior Master Sergeant Retired Sonia Cudd, and sister-in-law, Captain Melody Vasquez. Also with us today is the Mayor of the City of Glendale, the Honorable Jerry Wires, Arizona Representative Tim Dunn, Maricopa County Supervisor Mr. Clint Hickman, Mayor of the City of Goodyear, the Honorable Georgia Lord and her husband, Colonel Retired Ron Lord, Mayor of the City of El Mirage, the Honorable Lana Mook, Mayor of the City of Litchfield Park, the Honorable Thomas Schoaf, representing the Office of the Governor of Arizona, the Commissioner, Arizona State Land Department, Ms. Lisa Atkins. Former Vice Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force, General Carol Howie Chandler. Former Superintendent, United States Air Force Academy, Lieutenant General Retired John Regney. The Arizona Adjutant General, Major General Michael McGuire. The Director, Plans, Programs, and Requirements for Headquarters Air Combat Command, Major General Scott Ployce. Former Mobilization Assistant to the Deputy Chief of Staff for Air and Space Operations, Major General Retired Jim Folsom. The Command Chief, 19th Air Force, Chief Master Sergeant David Brown. 56th Fighter Wing Honorary Commander, Mr. John Hatfield. 56th Fighter Wing Honorary Commander, Mr. Andy Markham. We would also like to welcome the outstanding leadership from across Luke Air Force Base. The Vice Commander, 56th Fighter Wing, Colonel Michael Richardson, is the Commander of Airmen, and he is accompanied by his wife, Dr. Susan Richardson. The Command Chief, 56th Fighter Wing, Chief Master Sergeant Randy Kwiatkowski, is the Wing Guidon-Bearer, and he is accompanied by his wife, Stacy. Commanding the 56th Operation Group Formation, the Commander, Colonel Matthew Renbarger, accompanied by his wife, Tracy. Commanding the 56th Maintenance Group Formation, the Commander, Colonel Gregory Hudson, accompanied by his wife, Janet, and daughter, Hope. Commanding the 56th Mission Support Group Formation, the Commander, Colonel Robert Sylvester, accompanied by his wife, Donna. Commanding the 56th Medical Group Formation, the Commander, Colonel Jeffrey Freeland, accompanied by his wife, Lieutenant Colonel Retired Pamela Freeland. Commanding the Fighter Wing Staff Agency Formation, the Director of Staff, Lieutenant Colonel Paul Jelinek. The Director, 56th Range Management Office, Mr. Chaz Buchanan, accompanied by his wife, Sheila. The Director, 56th Fighter Wing Community Initiatives Team, Mr. Rusty Mitchell, accompanied by his wife, Pat. The Commander, 944th Fighter Wing, Colonel Brian Cook. The Command Chief, 944th Fighter Wing, Chief Master Sergeant Jeremy Malcolm. The Vice Commander, 944th Fighter Wing, Colonel Robert Toffel. The Commander, 944th Fighter Wing, Director of Staff, Colonel Paul Tyson. Mr. Ron Seitz and the Fighter Country Partnership Organization, dedicated to supporting the men, women, families, and mission of Luke Air Force Base. And finally, we would like to welcome all of our West Valley City officials, Brigadier General Retired Art Cameron and the Lockheed Martin team members, members of the Archer Ragsdale chapter of the Tuskegee Airmen Incorporated, squadron commanders, present and former honorary commanders, chiefs, first sergeants, thunderbolts, and other distinguished guests. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the playing of ruffles and flourishes, the singing of our national anthem, and the invocation.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. In the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Let us pray. It is with joy that we celebrate the peaceful and ceremonial transition of command and authority from Brigadier General Brooke Leonard to Brigadier General Todd Canterbury. We thank you, Lord, for the creative leadership of General Leonard, for his vision, his focus upon leadership development, and his clarion call to change the Air Force from the 56th Fighter Wing. Grant to him your peace as he and his family depart for yet another opportunity to lead with excellence and distinction. We welcome Brigadier General Canterbury with open arms and minds. We commit ourselves to follow his leadership as he commands Thunderbolt Nation. Today, as we observe this ceremony, we pray the prayers of the divine and the leader of men. Teach us, Lord, to serve you as you deserve, to give and not to count the cost, to fight and not to heed the wounds, to toil and not to seek the rest, to labor and not to ask for any reward, save that of knowing that we do your will. And now unto him who is able to keep us from falling and lift us from the dark valley of despair to the bright mountain of hope, from the midnight of desperation to the daybreak of joy. To him be power and authority forever and ever. This we pray with grateful hearts. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Thank you, Mr. Patrick McDermott, for that beautiful rendition of our national anthem, and Chaplain Fowler for the invocation. Ladies and gentlemen, the Commander, 19th Air Force, Major General Patrick Doherty.
Well, it's quite an honor to be rolling into town in sunny Phoenix, Arizona, and coming back to probably a home that Dee Dee and I greatly appreciated over 25 years ago. There's something magical about this location when you talk about U.S. fighter country, and we want to thank everybody, this entire community, and all these airmen for what they do each and every day to make sure that Luke Air Force Base is a staple of our United States Air Force. It's got some of the richest history. It's one of the true gems of our Air Force, and it's an honor to be here presiding over this ceremony. Thunderbolt Nation. Incredible. Incredible efforts under the leadership of Tank Leonard over the last 2 years, and the accomplishments that you all have achieved and pushed and showed and taught our Air Force what innovation and initiative is all about. It's an honor to be in your presence. It's incredible to serve with you, and we'll talk a little bit more. I can't talk about all the accomplishments that you guys have rolled out, but I'll try to hit some of the highlights. But first, to a big thank you to the Leonard family, to Tank, Maria, to that incredible family that has served, sacrificed, supported all the efforts these last 2 years. Thank you very much. It's tough, exhilarating, building all the friendships that you do, and then we ask you to leave and to go do something else exciting in our Air Force. But I just rest assured that you'll always have friends here, and you'll always be welcome back, and it's a family that the Air Force is all about. You should all know, though, that your efforts, each one of you serve, have made our Air Force better and made our country better. So thank you very much. And second, to the Canterbury family. It's great to see Tails and Christi and the girls and General. We shared a stage about 11 years ago when I was handing off the 334th Fighter Squadron Eagles to Tails at Seymour Johnson, and we kind of had the same lineup, but those girls were about knee-high about those days. But we're very excited. The Air Force is very excited about the trusted, respected leadership that Tails and the Canterbury family bring to Luke Air Force Base in the 56th Fighter Wing. And I think it's probably the first time that we had a father be the 56th Fighter Wing commander, and now the son is taking over the 56th Fighter Wing commander. I'm not so sure that's happened in the history of the Air Force before. So it's pretty special for the Canterbury family today. And finally, to our distinguished group of leaders, both military, civilian, industry, and these great communities that care for Luke Air Force Base and the precious national treasure that it is here and what you provide for our country and for the national defense. Thank you so much for being the patriots that you are, for fighting behind the scenes for the airspace, for all the encroachment issues that challenge a lot of our bases across America now. We appreciate teaming up with you, and we couldn't do it without you. So thank you very much. To some of the distinguished visitors here, the former Vice Chief Staff, General Chandler, General Rigney and his wife, General Ployce, Rolls, great to see you as well, and to the other general officers and senior leaders from our Air Force. How many mayors are actually here today? Can you raise your hand? So an incredible community that I don't think any other community in our Air Force really shares the amount of mayors and communities that gather together and collaborate to share in this wonderful experience of fighter country and Luke Air Force Base. So thank you very much for all your efforts and what you do on a day-to-day basis to take care of our airmen and to take care of this incredible mission. To the other group commanders, chiefs, squadron commanders of the 56th and the 944th, to Opie Cook and his team, our great TFI partners, thank you for sharing in this mission. Real quick, I'm going to take it real quick up to 50,000 feet, big picture, and then try to connect it exactly to every single one of these young airmen out here that take on this incredible mission and make that connection before we talk about these two great leaders in this transition. We live in interesting times. In fact, relatively peaceful times since we've crushed ISIS, but our ops tempo has been some of the highest for the last 26 or 27 years, and it's a moment in time, a pivotal time, as the national threats are changing before our eyes. So I want to talk about national security and about our nation and our allies, and accentuate the importance of what each and every member of this wing contributes each and every day, and that your efforts are not in vain. Your blood, sweat, and tears matter each and every day on those long hours on the flight line or in the back shops, or working the tough issues that need to be fought day in and day out. Our enduring mission has always been to provide combat, credible military forces necessary to deter war and protect our sovereignty of our country and our individual freedoms. If deterrence fails, and our nation, our national interests, or our allies are threatened or attacked, we would be prepared to respond with lightning speed and power. And that's what the 56th Fighter Wing provides. The importance of strength and leading from the front has never been more important as we look at the threats that are on the horizon. Following the decades post-Cold War, we were in a moment of time where the dialogue, the policies, and the priorities were pretty triumphant as we defeated the USSR, and we started diverting some of our resources and our investments to other portions of what our country needed. As our military force structure was cut, our operations tempo and our military engagements across the globe increased, to the point now we've been the smallest force, but probably the most employed force over the last 2 decades and a half. It has come at a cost. It has come at a cost of our fourth-generation iron, our bomber force, our tanker force, the sustainment, the depots. Everything is stressed right now. And so I'm here to tell you, though, that things never change. And although that we thought communism was defeated, it just went to ground. And it has arisen in a different format with different strategic environment that are complicating the global environment at large. We find ourselves now where our military's competitive advantage is being challenged like at no other time in a lot of different warfighting domains. We've got to stay competitive. We've got to change our mindset of being the superpower and nobody competes with us. Those days are gone, and we've got to get a mindset of being competitive again. Using innovation and initiatives, the great ideas from our young airmen, to our senior leaders that lead them with ideas, and allow them to explore what the opportunities are in front of us. But I'm here to tell you, the interstate strategic competition has replaced what we've been fighting, terrorism, for the last 16 years, The national competition has risen to a level that is concerning to all of our national leaders. And it is the primary concern in U.S. national security at this moment with China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran. And they're continuing to challenge us on a lot of different fronts. Cyberspace, space in general. With the recent announcement, you can tell the national dialogue is changing as far as the realm of space. And I'm here to just offer that the age of acceleration is upon us. And our national dialogues have got to keep up with the pace of what's going on around us. But there's no mistake. We have dominated the air for 25, 30 years, and nobody has ever questioned us in that manner. But they are trying to challenge us now, and they have watched our ways, and they are looking for ways to take advantage of some of our possible vulnerabilities. We are still, no doubt, and don't doubt this, we are still the strongest Air Force on the globe. And we'll continue to become stronger and stronger as the need fits. But we have to own the high ground. And right now, and into the near future, the high ground is space. And we've got to be pointed in that direction to own the high ground. I know some of you heard Secretary Wilson talk about this, but this is so incredibly important. We've got to deliver performance at the speed of relevance. Success is no longer defined by the country who creates a new technology first. Rather, success goes to the one who can better integrate and adapt their way of fighting faster. It will take innovative solutions to break through our processes and our bureaucracies, which are optimized for exceptional performance at the expense of timely decisions and bringing capabilities to our warfighters faster. All of the efforts here at the 56 contribute to this strategy of winning in the future and maintaining our military advantage over our nation's enemies. The 56 Fighter Wing's mission is simple: build the future of air power. Build fighter pilots. This is a great ceremony. We need more fighter pilots in our Air Force. We're actually bringing back some fighter pilots who recently retired. And I'm gazing over the crowd right now, and I'm looking at some recruits right now that I know could still strap it on and tear it up. But it's got to be a national dialogue, and we got to continue to open up those venues to gather interest in that fighting spirit that is so uniquely embedded in the spirit and soul of our fighter pilots that have carried the day for so many decades. In a time when our nation's readiness and lethality levels need to be strengthened, there's nothing more relevant to future crisis warfare than the importance of American air power. Every single war plan out there across the globe relies on your United States Air Force. Period. Dot. And so we've got to increase our readiness rates quickly, innovatively, with smart ideas and airmen at every single level that are ready to take risk. Smart risk, bold risk, the type of risk that your general officer that's been leading this team for the last 2 years has been showing you an example of how to do it and do it right. Building the future of America's air power is no small feat. And rapid advances in technology and big data and information sharing continue to test and define what the future looks like. It's no secret that the Air Force currently has a crisis in the pilot corps. But here's where Luke Air Force Base comes into play: production and innovation. And quite frankly, I'll tell you, they've been leading the way for our Air Force on fighting the retention fight as well, and caring about our pilot force, caring about our maintainers, and caring about everybody that has everything to do about producing sorties for these great airframes for the future. It's important. The production is important. increasing the production by 30 to 40% is important. But here's the big takeaway. We will not negotiate, compromise, or turn an eye to the importance of the fighting force. They've got to be smarter. They've got to be stronger. They've got to be tougher, faster, more agile, and more resilient than we have been in the past. They've got to be better than us. And we will not compromise on standards. Our Air Force was built on standards, and that's what we're going to live by into the future. And so I appreciate all the great leadership across the Luke enterprise of holding those high standards. We've got to focus on the basics. Doing the ordinary extraordinarily well. Although we have some very high-speed equipment, it comes down to the basics on how we employ, implement a fighting force. It comes down to flight leadership. It comes down to airmanship, decision-making, judgment, both on the air, in the air, and on the ground. And so continued success in this way is going to further our readiness rates into the future, and I appreciate your focus on this and steering our teams toward victories in the future. That's what the United States Air Force is expected to provide our country in the defense of our nation. And that's quite frankly what the free world is expecting from our United States Air Force as well. And so I want to gratefully thank you all for staying online with that. Tank, your leadership's been exceptional. It's been bold with vision. You have been the snowplow for ATC. And I appreciate the fights that you've pushed against the ATC staff and asking the right questions. And I've been right alongside of you because I know that the staff is sometimes known as the staff of no. But you're pushing them in the right direction for the change and the focus of where all leaders of the Air Force need to be focused on. And it's about these squadrons out here. It's about providing support and advocacy and focusing on the squadrons because the squadrons own the mission, and that's where General Goldfein is going to. And so Wings, NAFs, MAJCOMs, Headquarters Air Force are all aligned and focused on making sure these squadrons are successful in carrying out the mission. And that's where it needs to be focused, and that's where the focus needs to stay. It's the right answer, and I thank you for the vision and the way you've led. This is an incredible animal of a production engine. 26,000 sorties in 2017. 34,000 flying hours in 2017. There's no other wing that does that, ladies and gentlemen. There's no other wing that produces 181 F-16 pilots or 74 F-35 pilots in 1 year. That's an incredible workload that your United States Air Force is relying on. And you guys do it like clockwork. And we know it's not easy. And we appreciate your efforts, your blood, sweat, and tears to make it happen. But you just don't make it happen. You're trying to think about the future. And what your maintenance teams have done, putting together the Lightning integrated teams and trying to envision the future on how to cross-functional check each other out, have a smaller sustainment maintenance team to keep one aircraft that they're all accountable to, and the leader development of one leader that's in charge of a team of 9 or 10 people that are in charge of the sorties that aircraft provide. That's leader development. That's holding people accountable. That's the type of leader development we need in the future, and you guys are growing that right here on the flight lines of Luke Air Force Base, and I appreciate that. I could go on with your human performance efforts from your medical team that's doing a lot to make sure that we're keeping our aviators as healthy as they can be and retaining them in our United States Air Force because they're dearly needed. I will talk about the big awards you guys pulled in. In 2018, you brought in the General Spencer Innovation Award. In 2018, you brought in the General Mark A. Welsh One Air Force Award. In 2017, you brought in the ATC Weapons Excellence Award. And for 2 years in a row, you brought in the Air Force Outstanding Unit Award. There's not a lot of wings that can say they're doing that level of performance. And it's not only Tank Leonard's leadership, it's the leadership all the way through the Vice, Tweak, your efforts, all the group commanders, phenomenal teams, squadron commanders, flight commanders. It goes all the way down. You guys live and breathe it, and you guys are making history. And you're being an incredible example to our United States Air Force on where we need to go. And I thank you dearly for that. But I'll tell you what I value the most about Tank Leonard's leadership approach to Thunderbolt Nation. He prioritized his people first, adding value and balance to their lives, taking a lot of heat when he wanted to put in training days into the months to make sure his maintainers were trained well. When the staffers were biting at his ankles about the training days he was losing, that he wasn't producing sorties. He understands what drives air power. He understands what drives sortie production. And you need a well-trained force to make that happen. He invested in their leadership development, making sure they are well-trained, developed, and thinking about the future, and caring for their families. And again, Maria, thank you so much for your efforts and making sure that the team was a family and it was well-connected and caring and listening to what the team needed. Can't thank you enough, Tank, for your leadership. Thanks for making the team better. Thanks for loving them. We wish you all the best in the future. You got a bright future in the Air Force, and you're going to take it to the enemy in the next job. So good on you. Over to Tails. Tails, I've known Tails about 15 years. You can see in his bio, he was a young Strike Eagle pup, did the patch, DG everything, Thunderbird pilot, came back to Strike Eagle, fought a war or two, commanded Strike Eagle FTU, so he knows about the training business and the importance of providing the seed corn to our United States Air Force. Vice commander at Bagram, killing the enemy, and the commander of the Nomads. And then you've been doing some yeoman's work at the IO, making sure that this new incredible aircraft is well sustained for the future. I can't think of anybody more prepared to take on this heavy lift, and I know you're going to do it exceedingly well. You're well respected. You're a great servant leader type of commander that cares about people, and Christi, I'm excited for you as well, and the girls. You guys are going to have an incredible ride. The next 2 years, you're going to take this wing to higher places, and places that we need to go in the future. And it will be a pivotal moment as we really bring in the F-35 ramp up. And so my hat's off to you. I'm sure it's clear to you this is a very highly motivated team. And so they are moving and shaking and making it happen. But I can't wait to see how your leadership shapes the 56 as it moves forward. Have fun with it. It's an incredible ride. It's a kick in the pants. You'll make the best of friends with these communities that love you so much. Have fun. Provide the conditions of success, and provide that healthy environment, and watch them go. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an incredible honor to be here. This is one of the finest fighter wings in our United States Air Force, and I appreciate your efforts each and every day. Every airman here should be incredibly proud of what you do for our nation and the defense of our country and our allies. This is the place to be. Everybody wants to be here. Across the globe, all of our allies and partners that are coming in droves. They probably are talking to Rolls each and every day on how to get into Luke Air Force Base. and rightly so. Thank you so much, and let's get on with the proceedings. Let's recognize Tank with a medal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, General Doherty. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the presentation of the Legion of Merit to Brigadier General Leonard. Attention to orders. Citation to accompany the award of the Legion of Merit, 2nd Oak Leaf Cluster to Brooke J. Leonard. Brigadier General Brooke J. Leonard distinguished himself by exceptionally meritorious conduct and the performance of outstanding service to the United States as Commander, 56th Fighter Wing, Luke Air Force Base, Arizona, from 13 July 2016 to 20 June 2018. During this critical time, General Leonard's leadership and foresight directly contributed to the Wing's mission of building the future of air power. General Leonard superbly commanded the Air Force's largest fighter wing with over 5,340 personnel, an annual budget exceeding $147 million, and over $10.9 billion in assets. During his 2 years in command, General Leonard flawlessly coordinated the Air Force's largest flying training program, executing more than 47,086 sorties and 65,056 flying hours that produced 1,360 combat-capable pilots and command and control warriors. He led the growth of the world's largest F-35 fleet from 40 aircraft to more than 70, enabling the graduation of the Air Force's first F-35A initial qualification course. Additionally, General Leonard cultivated civic partnerships, resulting in unprecedented capital gifts to the Air Force by community organizations, which paid for the construction of a new flight line kitchen and a security forces guard mount room. Finally, he oversaw the development of an Air Force Fighter Wing's first human performance team, which delivered physical, cognitive, and emotional performance strategies to mitigate injuries to the human weapons system, maximizing warfighter capability and retention. The superior initiative, outstanding leadership, and personal endeavor displayed by General Leonard reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. It is my pleasure to present the Commander, 56th Fighter Wing, Brigadier General Brooke Leonard.
Thank you. Good morning, Thunderbolt Nation. Today I'd like to tell you just a couple stories as we wait for air power to wake up on Luke Air Patch. In 1939, as Hitler stormed across Europe, the United States started the war effort by producing 1,200 pilots. In 1940, as the Battle of Britain raged, and we thought we might lose our only toehold in Europe, we increased our fighter pilot production to over 12,000. And then in 1941, when the war became personal, when Pearl Harbor was attacked, we upped our fighter pilot production to over 30,000 pilots a year. President Roosevelt annexed Luke Field and Thunderbird Field in the West Valley and several other ranges to include the Barium-Goldwater Range. We started teaching pilots by shooting skeet at tens of yards and then strafe at hundreds of yards. And now we attack targets with the F-35 at over 100 miles away. Since that beginning, we have produced almost 60,000 fighter pilots and almost 20,000 F-16 pilots, hundreds of F-35 pilots to include 18 new initial course qualified pilots. It is in our DNA to train fighter pilots and develop weapon systems. Also in 1941, the 56th Fighter Group and then the 56th Fighter Wing was born, the original Wolfpack, and then the Thunderbolts. They were activated, and 2 years later, on 13 April 1943, they flew their first combat sortie. downing over 667 aircraft in the air, 1,592 in total, producing 40 aces, to be the leading wing in all of the European theater. And their leaders, an ace like Colonel Zemke, valued flight discipline, valued teamwork, and valued implementing the ideas of others. They were not going to be discontent with the P-47's climb and acceleration capability, but instead focused on the positive, its roll and dive capabilities. Because again, it's not about machines, but about people, ideas, and leadership. It is in our DNA to develop people. And in 1994, as Luke Air Force Base and the Thunderbolts came together, these ideas came together and they form our vision today. We will lead the Air Force in developing airmen and training fighter pilots. And so last night, as I thought over 2 years, and I asked my beautiful and very insightful wife, what do I want to say to the wing? What do I want to say to our community leaders? And she said, just tell them what you want them to remember. And thank them. And so here are a couple stories about what I want you to remember. The first one is our shield that's on our coin. And it's about caring about the person to your left. The Greeks wore this on their left arm. And they formed the phalanx that was renowned in battle. They got after their mission because they took care of the person to their left. So to build the future of air power, we do that by taking care of those around us each and every day. We must build teams also, and we must make bold decisions. And this rises from a spirit of humility and the courage to be in the arena. It's like Teddy Roosevelt said, the person that is in the arena knows there is no effort without error and shortcomings, but that person actually strives to do the deeds. That person knows great enthusiasms, great devotions, and they spend themselves in a worthy cause. Thunderbolts, you have done that. General Doherty mentioned a lot of our accomplishments, and I just want to tell you, my hat's off to each and every one of you. As we grew leaders across our force, and they came up with great ideas, and we put them into action, and we took care of our people, and we got after the mission, because in the end, it's about winning. In the end, it's about staying and remaining the world's greatest Air Force. And so whether it was our Lightning Integrated Technician experiment, or our Human Performance Team, or the trifecta between our CE Squadron, our Contracting Squadron, and our Comptroller Squadron that garnered so much money and turned it into mission, or the innovation inside our Ops Group that continuously improved our syllabuses, improved retention with such things as one of the greatest fighter pilot rendezvous I've seen in a decade. It was all of you that made this happen. And I want us to remember we did it together, and we did it by making bold decisions. So remember. I also want to say thanks. And first and foremost, General Doherty, I want to say thank you to you and Chief Brown for your leadership up at 19th Air Force. You talk about a huge mission here. Well, you got 15 other wings besides us to care for. You've done so in amazing ways. You've supported us each and every day. I knew that you had our back. We've taken on some really difficult problem sets, and your encouragement and mentorship throughout all those has yielded what you have just complimented us on. So I wanted to say thank you to you and your bold leadership as well. Second of all, I'd like to say thank you to the folks that put this on. There was a lot of somebodies who put this stage here, the F-16s, the F-35s. I appreciate the 173rd bringing in a strike or an Eagle. I appreciate seeing all the different equipment that represent our wing and the teamwork that we have. Thanks for putting this on. I'd like to say thanks to Snitch, who was our POC, and as always, Rodney and the protocol staff that does these things just like turning over in their sleep, but it turns out awesome. And Rodney, you've presented our wing to so many different nations and so many different people in such a great light. Thank you for your service. Patrick, 2 years ago, I got to hear that wonderful rendition of our national anthem. Brings back lots of memories to hear it again. It's been great having you as a friend, and we thank you for everything you do for us. Christi Machado as our narrator. Not only is she a great narrator, but she's a great leader in our support group, and she's about to go over to our maintenance group and take over as their CSS lead to provide Gift Pletz and Ed Romero an opportunity to not just do admin all day, but actually to get out there and lead. So Christi, thank you for taking that on. And I'd also like to thank Larry, who gave our invocation today, and your spiritual leadership, and how you've proven time and time again that loving airmen is an away game. How you've taken your leadership from the chapel and you've projected onto the flight line and all throughout our wing. And we thank you for caring for our airmen in special ways, and thank you for giving the invocation today. I'd also like to thank our mayors and all our elected officials. You love us in so many different ways, like family, sacrificing your resources and your time to care for our airmen, to protect your Air Force's mission. It means a lot to me. Our coin not only has the shield that represents how we take care of each other, but on this shield it has 16 stars. And those 16 stars are for our 11 mayors, for our county and for our state and our 3 out locations, and for the community support that holds that shield of protection together each and every day. Thank you for coming alongside of us. I'd also like to thank our community juggernaut. So I've tried to describe this team of our community initiatives team, our honorary commanders, Fighter Country Partnership, and Blue Blazers. I've tried woefully over the last 2 years, but today I stand in front of you and I tell you that you are a juggernaut, a huge, powerful, overwhelming force and institution. You love what we love, awesomeness, air power, and airmen. It's been amazing. Rusty, it's just been great having your leadership. Thank you so much for your mentorship and for what you've grown here over the many years. It will continue on because of great selfless leaders like you. I also want to thank your team, Barb, Chris, and Eric, who do a lot of work and really make things happen on a weekly basis. For Fighter Country Partnership, Rick and Ron and Jason and just all the folks, I just really want to appreciate how you come alongside of us. You know what we're about. We feel loved each and every day. You make it happen. And thank you so much for being a huge support to us. I'd also like to thank the Team Luke team, Lockheed Martin, led by Art Cameron, really an additional group inside the fighter wing. Just an incredible amount of support and your focus on getting things done, and your mentorship as a Air Force leader as well as a Lockheed leader has been tremendous. And I'd like to thank you, Opie. I appreciate you wrestling around with me on how we can innovate and how we can grow. I appreciate your leadership and your friendship from all the way back in our WIC class. I thank you for how you've integrated your ops and support and maintenance. And as General Doherty mentioned, our maintenance team, 1K Maintenance, is going up for the Air Force's award on Total Force Integration. And I'll tell you, they're going to win. I'd also like to thank Team Headquarters, just the front office staff, and just the fun that we have up there and how we take care of each other and the Wing's mission. I'd also like to thank friends and family, the community, the folks that anchored Maria and I's lives each and every day. You provided stability, even though in the military we come and go. With friends like you, both in our church, at our CrossFit box, and just the folks that we got to meet at restaurants around town, and just everybody that came alongside us. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for what you've added to our lives. And to AB and Greg and Bob and Jeff, Ice, Chaz, and Rusty, and Chief K, and your wonderful spouses. Thanks for being great friends to Maria and I. And to my family, Maria, thank you. Your loving kindness showed the way for how we take care of our families. Not only ours, but the whole wing. And for Cade and Kinley and Ty and crew and Trek and Cody, you guys are awesome. I appreciate your flexibility, for being willing to say goodbye to friends and hello to new ones, for recreating your lives as we move around this great Air Force, for loving the sound of freedom. And last but not least, I'd like to say thank you and welcome to the Canterbury family. Tails, I can think of no better person to take over this wonderful wing. As you said at the Luke West Valley Council, this is personal. You've grown up here. You've known this mission your whole life. Your dad has projected this wing and grew it in amazing ways, and it's wonderful to see you take over. And Christi, thank you. When Maria came back from your meeting, she said, "I've met a friend." And that says a lot for a couple hours over coffee, but Thank you for what you're about to do and how you have loved your family and are about to love this wing. And last but not least, I'd like to say thank you to all the Thunderbolts. It was an honor to serve you all. Just remember, care for the person on your left, wire yourselves in parallel as a team, and make bold decisions and change the Air Force from the 56th Fighter Wing. Thank you.
General Leonard will now receive his final salute as the commander of the 56th Fighter Wing.
Wing, go, take, hoop. Freeze it, hoop.
Get after it, Thunderbolts. Thanks.
Order, hoop.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand as we invite General Doherty and General Canterbury to join General Leonard at center stage, where General Doherty will officiate the change of command ceremony and the 56th Fighter Wing will be formally passed from General Leonard to General Canterbury. Department of the Air Force, Headquarters, United States Air Force, Washington, D.C., Special Order Number G18004, under the provisions of AFI 51-604, Brigadier General Brooke Leonard relinquishes command of the 56th Fighter Wing, Luke Air Force Base, Arizona. Effective 20 June 2018, Brigadier General Todd Canterbury assumes command of the 56th Fighter Wing, Luke Air Force Base, Arizona. Thank you. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce the commander, 56th Fighter Wing, Luke Air Force Base, Brigadier General Todd Canterbury.
Distinguished guests, family, friends, men and women of the 56th Fighter Wing, thank you for attending today's change of command ceremony and making it a special occasion for the Canterbury family. I'd like to offer a special thanks to Major Christensen and his team for making this change of command ceremony happen, and to Mr. McDermott for that beautiful rendition of the national anthem. Thank you very much. To General Doherty, it is truly an honor and a privilege to take command of this distinguished wing. Thank you for your trust and confidence you've placed in me to lead the men and women of the Thunderbolts into the next chapter of Thunderbolt history. I can think of no better place than to be right here at the forefront of combat air power training, developing the future of air power. To our distinguished guests from the local community, thank you for joining us here today, for your unending support of the Air Force and our families. Your communities support us, give us a place to call home, take care of our families, and welcome our kids. The West Valley's local communities are well known for their unwavering patriotism. Your community's support of our airmen and the Air Force mission is legendary throughout the military. I've had the unique opportunity to experience this firsthand throughout my life. From a 6th grader at Luke Elementary to a lifeguard at the base pool and an F-16 student in the Mighty Ducks. This is my home. This is personal to me. This is my chance to give back to the community that's given so much to my family. To Mayor Wires and other community mayors and leaders, I look forward to continuing to build the relationship as we work together to support the airmen and the missions of Luke Air Force Base. To Mayor Lord, my only request is that if we disagree, you are not allowed to call my mother or scold me like you did in 1976. To Tank, thank you for building and leading such a fine professional organization and providing me with a world-class handoff. Thank you and Maria for your leadership and vision over the past 23 months. Your positive impact on the 56th Fighter Wing will be felt for years to come. I wish you all the best of luck downrange and in Colorado Springs. To Christi, you're my best friend and the love of my life. Thank you for standing beside me every step of the way. I look forward to sharing this incredible journey with you and our two wonderful young ladies. I love you all very much and can't wait to watch you care for the Thunderbolt family. To my mom and dad, thank you for your loving support over the last 48 years. During that time, some of my fondest memories are those of you leading Luke Air Force Base and training the F-15 and F-16 fighter pilots. Your students graduated from Luke and grew into the captains and majors that provided our nation a decisive victory in Desert Storm. You should be incredibly proud of your accomplishments and what your leadership did to influence a generation of air power. I can only hope that the second Canterbury to lead this wing will have the same success story that you did. To the men and women of the 56th Fighter Wing, you are part of an incredible legacy of success, from World War I to Vietnam and the Gulf War. The men and women who have gone before us have defended our nation, have made the ultimate sacrifice, and served courageously in multiple theaters around the globe, providing air power for our nation. You contribute to that legacy each and every day. While the enemies have changed, the extraordinary dedication, courage, and skill of the men and women we call Thunderbolts has remained constant. While we honor their service, we cannot rest on their laurels. Now is our time to perfect our tradecraft as professional warriors and instructors, to provide the combat air force with the most capable and lethal fighter pilots. You have an incredible responsibility. You are setting the foundation for the next 50 years of air power. The path that you set right now will be walked by future generations of airmen, sailors, Marines, and coalition partners around the globe. While that is a huge responsibility, I am confident that we can fulfill this obligation because of the dedicated and experienced men and women from the 56th Fighter Wing, the 944th Reserve Wing, the Fighter Company Partnership, the Blue Blazers, and all the members of the Lockheed Martin support team who want to see the Air Force succeed and who will work relentlessly to make sure that everyone understands how absolutely vital to our nation's security this business of aerial warfighting is. Air power is today without peer in its global reach, its flexibility, and its effectiveness, and the Thunderbolts will carry that torch forward. Distinguished members of the 56th Fighter Wing, visitors, family, friends, thank you again for attending our ceremony. I truly appreciate your support and look forward to working with each and every one of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, General Canterbury. And now, as a symbol of loyalty and respect to General Canterbury, the men and women of the 56th Fighter Wing will render their first salute to our new commander. Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the 56th Fighter Wing Flagship to your left. Next to the F-35 Flagship is the dedicated crew chief, Staff Sergeant Alexander Ingvelson Hefner, and Assistant Dedicated Crew Chiefs, Senior Airman Christopher Semensky and Senior Airman Matthew Triefenbach. At this time, the crew chiefs will display Brigadier General Canterbury's name as the new pilot in command. Ladies and gentlemen, we are proud to have served with General Leonard and wish him and Mrs. Leonard good luck in their new assignment. At this time, please stand and loudly and proudly sing the Air Force song and remain standing for the departure of the official party. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our change of command ceremony. Please join us for a post-reception at Club 5-6 as we honor Brigadier General and Mrs. Canterbury and their family.